Welcome to Roll for Crit. Today we are taking a look at Bureaunauts from Fox and Ox Creations.
Yes, in this game you're all interns for a space company, and like real interns, you will pay for the game for an experience to be interns.
That's exactly correct. It is an unpaid internship. And so, as you said, you're all competing for the highest position at the company. You want to go from lowly little interns all the way to the director.
And actually make money.
Yeah, a dream that we all have, only in space. So as you can see, you've kind of got this retro aesthetic, this old school space arcade video game looking style. And as you can also see, you have quite a grid of space cards that take up a good deal of table space, and this is basically your main playing field. This is sort of a look at a game in progress or near the end, and there you can see that some of them are flipped over, and once you land on there are going to be different results. Otherwise, they're blank until you get there.
And what this board represents is, in essence, your job, as you said earlier, reaching the director, is to complete 5 career goals. Because that's what we're all looking for in our future.
Yeah.
And these could depend on a lot of different things. They're secret at first, but they can open up more. Things like, for example, exploring this area and finding relic cards like we see here. Killing off these space jellies, these lovely little pests.
Yeah.
Space pirates, which currently I don't think we have actually any flipped.
Yeah, they're in there somewhere.
You're like, oh boy.
40 minutes of me flipping cards next. And a couple other things that can be in there. And those are going to be a secret, and once you complete one, you reveal it. And everybody sees that you've done so, and you get a reward, which is this influence track. And that is basically the end goal of the game, is you're going to be putting your color cards, you're going to be starting with these cards that are simply whatever your color is, and when you complete a goal, or perhaps a few other circumstances, you're going to be placing influence cards into one or more of these piles. And at the end of the game, multiple cards will be flipped, like so, one at a time, the top cards from each pile, and if it looks like this, that means the red player has won this match, this entire game. If it didn't, let's say there were more than, right now we only have it set up for 2 players, but let's say you had a yellow card in there and there was a tie between red and green. Then you would keep flipping until someone either had a majority of 3 or someone has a majority of 2 twice, meaning no one else has 2 in that same round. So in that way, even if someone has a big lead, there's a bit of a chaotic chance element to who the ultimate winner can be. This is the heads of the boards voting on you.
Really, so the idea is you're trying to stack the vote, in essence. Like, you could, even though if I put 1 card in, the security one, for example, I could still win it, but if you put 4 in there, odds are
I'm going to show up. So just like any good game of luck, it can be balanced out depending on how you play, but there's always that bit of element of luck in there. The way you do your actual turn actions is on these little dials, which are your space phones.
Hello?
Yeah? Hey?
Yeah, okay.
Great. They work. They really work. They're actually functional. And you can either put in your coordinates of which space you want to move to, or if you put in 2 asterisks, that means you're doing an action. And the actions are, like we said, either completing one of your goals, or upgrading your ship, which helps you in combat, various other functions, repairing your ship.
Moving the goals around because you have to clear them in order of how you laid them out on the bottom of the board.
Right.
Which can change depending on how the jellyfish spawn, not jellyfish, the jellies spawn. Maybe you find enough relics, so that relic one you didn't think you're going to get near the end is now you want to move to the beginning, so on and so forth.
Yeah. So this is a game that I think if you described it to somebody, there's a good chance they will say that doesn't sound fun at all, because the theme is, your
business.
Yeah, you're like one of the main phases of the game is when you file paperwork, for instance. But it reminds me of, I feel like there's been sort of a trend in some video games actually lately. Papers, Please comes to mind, and maybe a few others where it sort of takes a mundane sounding task, but adds a sense of humor to it, and it has this almost addicting quality.
I'm sorry, it seems funny that your example, though, is Papers, Please.
Yeah, you're stamping papers. It's boring.
But as you said, humorous, and I just...
There's a lot of humor in that game.
I guess,
Have you not played it?
Yeah, but I just feel so dark and depressed unless I'm thinking of a different game.
No, I think it's dark. It's funny and dark.
But no, yeah, and this game actually takes advantage of the theme of business to almost a hilarious level, because, for example, if you both choose the same action, because obviously turn order would matter, like whoever goes there first or something. So in order to decide who gets it, you actually play rock, paper, scissors, but they call it scheduling a meeting.
Yeah, and instead of rock, paper, scissors, it's golf, poker, happy hour. So that's a really, I like that also. One of the things I do really like about this game is the interplay between players. It's not very direct. For the most part, you're not attacking each other, which is a plus for us, because I know usually we like a little less stress.
Well, I think it's more of that both of us happen to be turtlers.
Yeah, that is
We're part of the turtle club.
Our way of life.
But the other thing I really like is you have a budget. And you start off with two, what do they call them? Photons?
Photons.
Photons. But every time someone completes the first time of one of the tasks, everyone's budgets increases. So this really starts to ramp up the game really fast, which is helpful because it's not like, oh, he completed his first, his budget increases, and I'm just left in the dust.
Yeah, it's hard to really be a runaway leader. They do a good job balancing that way. Even with rock, paper, scissors, when you lose, like for instance, if you both wanted to go to the same spot, the loser gets to choose a new spot.
Right, it's not directly canceling your action, it's just the turn order.
So I feel like it's very fair in the way you interact with each other, but there's enough there that it's fun and you're aware of what people are doing. And the other thing that the career goals make it very interesting because there's a variety of them. There's a lot of different ways that you can win. It's almost like Scythe is. Like somebody might be going full on attack mode and killing all the jellies, but that doesn't mean they're going to win. You could be going a completely different route.
Right.
Or you might, but probably you want to have like a little bit of everything spicing up your goals.
Well, honestly, it depends, and that's the nice thing about the way the jellyfish actually come on the board. Before each turn, a few randomly spawn depending on the number of players, and they all move. And They can start clumping up and becoming very big piles. And because the board is these cards as random, really the board is going to be very different each game through.
Oh yeah, absolutely. This entire thing is totally randomly laid out. You never know what you're going to find. It's kind of exciting. Sometimes you might find nothing, but that's just fine too.
No, it really does make it like you want to play more and just see the hecticness of everyone trying to scrabble to try to get the boss's approval.
Yeah, fun theme. Fun game. One thing that we thought was, if you're playing it with only 2 players, which we did try, it is still pretty fun, but really this voting part feels like it was made to be done with more players.
Right,
so,
because it sort of became, you put the cards face down so you're not 100% sure how many each person comes in, and once 2, you can sort of be like, okay, I know I've been stacking those 2.
You can play this up to 6 players, so you might get a bunch of stacks of nobody in there. So that can be fun, and also you get more opportunities to clash in rock, paper, scissors if you have more players, most likely. The other thing that I'd say is could be a negative for you is there is a bit of a hurdle with setup time, I'd say. You do have to shuffle this deck and lay out this grid every time, which is a little tedious, and it does take up a fairly large amount of table space.
I mean, look at this table.
Yeah, it barely holds this, which is surprising. But there's not really much else in terms of setup. It really is just this grid.
Right.
So overall, really fun. This was a Kickstarter, but it's available places you can find right now. If you will put some links below in the description. We really had a blast with Bureaunauts.
I mean, definitely check it out if you are a big fan of more maybe lighthearted games. It's definitely the kind of game I feel like you could play with everyone just sort of chilling and maybe having a drink around. Or if you know someone who is very into business stuff, because it'd be almost funny for you to play this kind of stuff with the lingo.
Feels like Battle at Kemble's Cascade meets Camel Up meets Argent the Consortium meets Star Wars Armada.
I think it's The Office in Space.
The Office in Space. If that sounds fun to you, and it should, check out Bureaunauts. Or if you've played Bureaunauts, we'd love to hear what you think. Leave a comment below. Or find us on other social media places that we have all around us, or our website, rollforcrit.com. Otherwise, this has been a Roll for Crit review. I'm Jonathan Estes.
I'm Will Keeler. And as you said, this has been a Roll for Crit review.